Hey, it's Marthea Pitts, the MSW coach. I'm going to pin a comment. Hey, how you doing? I'm just pinning a comment, and we're going to jump into this conversation. If you're watching the replay back, just skip ahead a minute. All right, so I think I may need to change my setup a little bit, but I want to talk about the fact that your fear of no, I need a pillow over here. Your fear of no is holding you back, right? So I just literally wrapped up. Thursdays are office hours where I meet with micro to macro career accelerator coaching clients one-on-one, and we talk about whatever they are currently working on as far as macro job searching. Maybe they're going through the career clarity phase. Maybe they are preparing for an interview. So it's the one-on-one support that comes along with being inside of my group career coaching program. And I was just talking with one of my coaching clients about something that she's working on, which then made me have to give her a heart-to-heart on the fact that her fear of no is holding her back. And as soon as I said it, she was like, yes, that's exactly it. So it made me want to come on and talk about some things regarding your fear of no. And I wrote out some notes. And so as I'm going through them, if you are watching the live or the replay, either way, drop in the chats what resonates with you. If you're watching this back somewhere else outside of Instagram, drop in the comments and tell me what's resonating with you. So what I know to be true after working with hundreds of professionals, more than just social workers, before coming online as the MSW coach, is that your fear has a weird way of showing up in your job search, right? So usually, and this is it always happens like this. You and I have never not met one person that didn't struggle with it, right? So usually when people find me and they start coaching with me, and at the beginning they are like super optimistic. They're selling me on a dream around like their confidence being on 1,000. And then once I hold up my part of the deal, which is my program promise, is to teach you how to identify, apply, and interview for your dream macro social work job in 3 months or less. So once I hold up my part of the deal and I do that, and they are now holding in hand finished product as far as their macro resume, their cover letter, they know how to write it, they know how to find jobs, they're clear on the type of job they want, they know how to interview for the macro jobs, they know how to translate all of their years and years of social work experience, they still do not hit apply. Or if they do, it literally takes an act of God to get them to get to that point of applying. And the reason being is because the fear of getting a no is paralyzing. So how I know that I'm dealing with something deeper here other than just strategy, because now you have learned the strategies, you have the resume, but you're still not hitting apply, is how it manifests on the surface is that people then start spending their time doing what I wrote down, busy activities, right? Or they go down the rabbit hole and get real fixated on things that are not applicable to them in their job search. So I'll give you an example. It's not uncommon for when people are at the point to start be hitting apply on a regular basis to get caught up in, like, if you've ever been on LinkedIn, and on LinkedIn it has the little counter where it says 50 people have applied to this job, or 200 people have applied to this job. First, I want to say that is not an accurate number. LinkedIn does not have some special privilege or access to an employer's applicant tracking system to know how many people have applied to this job directly with the employer. Whenever you see that little counter, it's just counting the number of people that have hit apply on LinkedIn's page. But how many times have you clicked apply on that page and didn't follow through with applying on the actual employer's website? So if you are going by that little tracker, you are like saying, I'm not going to apply because 50 people have already applied or 100 people have already applied. Or if you're going by the rule of thumb that career influencers give, where they're like, you need to be in the first 20 applicants. I want to say that you are doing yourself more harm than good and you want to abandon that. But anyway, going back to the fear. So how it shows up is they get real fixated on that, where it's like, I'm only going to apply when I find a job with 20 or less applicants, right? They get caught up in things that clearly they cannot control to justify them not hitting apply. And it's all because on a deeper level, they are fearful of a no. So their subconscious goes seeking out things to justify them not doing it, right? So it looks like getting caught up in that, or it looks like getting caught up in wanting to network. When I don't teach networking as a part of my strategy, the strategy is to apply. The strategy is to build a great case on written paper in your resume and in your interview why you would be a top candidate. However, people start then venturing out to these other things when they have not fully given effort to just applying, right? So people's fears of getting no's shows up in many ways. Let's talk about before you even come inside of the accelerator. What I know to be true is that when you have a deeper fear of getting a no about a job, you won't even attempt to, even though maybe on a deeper level you dream about doing something different, you dream about your career looking different, you dream about having more, doing more, being more, whatever more is defined for you, you won't even entertain the idea of looking at other jobs, right? It's like the fear has you so paralyzed that you won't even click open the job. A job could literally fall out of the sky in your lap and you won't even look into it to even entertain the idea, right? So fear of getting a no stops you before you even get started good. The people that work with me who have signed up for the Micro to Macro Career Accelerator, they were at least bold enough to push through that first initial curtain of fear, and then it shows up in another place, right? But I just want to say that fear never goes away. How do I know? Because when I was on my journey it was when I was already in my second macro job. However, I had much larger plans for my career. Like I had it all mapped out in written format and in my brain. And I was embarking on the second phase of my career plan, which there are many different levels to it. And I remember being so not paralyzed with fear. I was still taking action, but I was so consumed by the fear that I would ask people who I held in very high regard, one of which was on one of my guests on my podcast, Dr. Jessica Price. She's a macro social worker who is a researcher around child welfare related issues. I remember asking her, because she was my executive director of my second macro job. I remember asking her, how do you work through the fear, right? Because she's a world-renowned researcher. She has traveled the country literally talking about her research. She has gotten state laws passed in our home state of Florida. She works closely with legislatures. She's the executive director at a research institution at a R1 university. She's a big deal. So I asked her, I was like, how do you push through the fear? And this was actually when I was seconds away from applying to my doctoral program. If you don't know, I'm currently a PhD candidate. And I had so much fear attached to being in this PhD program with all of these education people, because my program is educational leadership. And all of them are super like senior level executive leadership. Yeah, I've had a director job, but I've never been like second in command of a university or something like that, or been a principal or been a school district superintendent, right? So I had a lot of fear about showing up in this new place, especially me coming from my call center background, and just like literally 2 years before that I was working as a case manager. So I had a lot of fear, and I remember asking Dr. Price, like, how does she push through the fear? And so she actually said, like, I don't have a lot of fear, and it was because, right, that she did one of the things that I'm going to share with you, like how to push through the fear. And this is me explaining it in my own words. Essentially, what she shared with me is that she does a lot of work on the front end of her life to fortify herself for the largeness of the work, right? And by no means are these her words. These are just my words to explain it to you. So what that looked like for Dr. Price, and we talked about that in the podcast, and I shared a reflection of, I remember when I asked her for a sit-down meeting to ask that question, along with some other questions around how to pick a PhD program and all of the things. And she was telling me that every morning she listens to a sermon, right? Fast forward to this day, every morning I listen to a sermon. So I do a lot of intentional work to fortify myself. So that's what I want to share today, because I talked about the fear, gave you some examples of how fear shows up. And I want you to, and I really am trying to encourage you, or wanting to encourage you, to get used to getting no's. You're going to get a no. It's just a part of life. However, if you keep going through life trying to minimize your exposure to a no, you are limiting the things that are out there for you, right? And some of the things that I wrote down is, by you trying to control your exposure to a no, it's keeping you stuck, right? And as a result of keeping you stuck, you will have the large possibility of being like probably people that you know in your immediate circle, people that you work alongside every day. You will be the person that looks up in 10 years and be like, I wish I would have did this. I met this woman one time. Again, it was all around the time when I was getting ready to apply for this PhD program. And she told me that one of her biggest regrets was that she did not go get her PhD, right? Like when you are when you are in the application stage of a PhD program or getting ready for your first semester, that's all you talk about. Like they always joke to say that's your highest point of being a doctoral student, because you technically haven't taken any classes, so you all over the world telling the people that you're a PhD student or whatever, until life kicks in and you start taking your coursework, and then the conversations get smaller and smaller. So anyway, I was at that point. I met this lady at in my community who said like that was her biggest regret. Looking back now, and I think she was more closer to retirement age, she said that was something that she wished she would have done. So I shared that to say that you don't want to be the person that looks up in 10 years, 15 years with regrets of not doing whatever it is that you wanted to do out of your fear of getting a no, which also is rooted in fear of failure. Like it could be attached to fear of failure. Well, if I'm not successful in this and it doesn't work out and I have to do something else, and I told all of the people about the thing, how would that make me look? You don't want to be that, right? Because I love to glean from people's life lessons, and to hear that woman who is an elder of mine tell me that was one of her huge regrets. And it's like, I don't want to do that, especially if someone's giving me a forewarning, like, this is how you will then look at life, and you're always looking in the back at what you should have did and the opportunities you should have taken, right? So fear of failure, I also want to say, is real. It's real. So what I learned, because I was so intrigued with trying to figure out how to work through this fear, I started doing a lot of research on the thing. I don't know if y'all know this. Like, I love a good Google search. I love to research a topic. And what I learned is that the most well-accomplished people have fear. They just know how to work through it, or they know how to push past it, or work through it in spite of the fear. So I say that point because nothing is innately wrong with you. You just need to find a way to push through the fear, right? Because when I had the fear, I was like, "Ooh, something wrong with me. Why can't I just do the thing? Everybody else just boldly out here taking steps." Everybody has fear. The key is how to push through it and not be paralyzed by it. And I also wrote down, before I start getting into some strategies to push through the fear, is you got to do it scared sometimes, right? Because again, the fear never goes away. I never told a story, and I guess it's time for me to tell this story, right? If you like engage with my Instagram stories, I told you all like 2 months ago that I literally got rid of everything that I owned. Got rid of it, threw it away, gave it to friends, gave it away to complete strangers to move to my new state. I got rid of everything that I own, everything that my daughter owned, and we condensed it all down to, like, I had 3 large suitcases. She had 2 large suitcases, and I just bought us 2 first class tickets to Texas. Right? So everything that we own was condensed down to 5 suitcases, maybe like 2 little carry-ons, and that's all that I had. It was the day that we were at the airport. We had to get to the airport at like 2 in the morning because the flight was supposed to leave at 5 a.m. Well, getting ready to get there by 5 a.m. And when we got there, the flight was delayed. However, I had already scheduled our transportation months before. I'm a planner, right? So I got this all together. So I'm like, we still gonna go. We're gonna sit there and we're gonna wait. I didn't tell you all, the flight was rescheduled to like 5 p.m. that evening. And I lived in a small rural town. So it's not like we're going to an airport that's like Atlanta airport where it's like a city within a city. No. Where I used to live, there is literally probably only 5 gates, and there was just a Dunkin' Donuts. So we literally sat there all day long. And all day long, I'm cool as a cucumber. Everything is going good. We finally get closer to the time that is time to board. So this is probably like in the 4 p.m. hour. And so literally, like 30 minutes before it was time to board, my fear almost took me out. So much so that I had to go into the restroom because, just so you know, I have never moved away from my state of Florida, right? I'm born and raised in Florida. I was born and raised in South Florida, Palm Beach County. My family relocated to North Florida when I was in 11th grade, and I had lived there all of my life. I had raised my daughter. My daughter went to college, came back home, all of the things. However, it was now time for me to leave. It had been time for me to leave. But fear would not allow me to move 7 years ago when I was supposed to go, right? So now it's up to this point in time. So it's time to get on the plane. My fear is taking over. It's taking over so much, like I feel like I'm about to pass out. I had to get up and go in the restroom and talk to God. You can believe in what you want to believe in. I believe in God. I was like, Lord, I am so scared. I don't know what I'm going to do. Please help me. In the bathroom stall, standing up with the door locked and closed. And I'm just praying, please help me. I was so afraid to leave where I had the only home that I knew, even though I had no connections to that city, right? So I come back out, sit down at the gate. I pull out my Bible and I begin to read my Bible. Within like a matter of seconds, a calmness just took over me. Next thing I know, I'm boarding the plane. We're sitting in first class. They're giving me drinks. I had completely forgot that I almost had a meltdown to the point where I was almost like, let's just go back. What are we going to go back to, though? I had already given my keys to the apartment. There was nowhere to go. So I say that to say this. You have to push through the fear. Now, fast forward 2 months later, it's the best thing that I have ever done. I wish I would have moved 7 years ago. I think about like where my life would have been had I moved 7 years ago. The access to resources that I have where I realized after being here like for 2 weeks that I had been, my life had been hard because I didn't have access to anything in that very rural town. Right? And had I moved sooner, my life would be somewhere completely different than where it is now. It's going to get there, right? It always course corrects. God always corrects our crooked paths. However, my life is tremendously different. But had I let my fear paralyze me, let's say I did have like a month or so on my apartment lease, and I was like, this fear is just taking me over. Let's forget about it. Let's just stay here. I would be looking up again like I was for the last 7 years with regrets about not moving. So I say that to say that you got to do it scared. You got to find something that works for you. So I'm going to get into some things that may work for you to help you start working through the fear and do it anyway. So for me, it's fortifying myself in the morning. Do what works for you. Right? So maybe that is you like to go out in nature. Go take you a walk in the morning before you go out in the world and do bold, courageous things. Maybe you like to go walk on the beach. I'm a beach baby. I was born in a beach town. However, I don't live near a beach. Right? But if I did, I would be going to the beach every morning, watching the sunrise. Maybe your thing is you love to be around your family and friends. Do more of that if that gives you the power, the strength that you need to do scary things. Another thing that's important to working through the fear is community, right? So one of the biggest takeaways of the Micro to Macro Career Accelerator for my coaching clients is that they are sitting in a dedicated time and place every week. Every Sunday like clockwork. I never miss a Sunday unless it's a holiday, an emergency, or my birthday. So every Sunday from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are all on Zoom, all of the cohorts, and we are talking about what did we work on last week, as far as our career goals. What jobs did you apply to? How did your interview go? What is your action item for the upcoming week? It was around cohort 9 and cohort 10 where I had 3 social workers who had, for the first time after many failed attempts, passed clinical licensure. Now, you all know I don't talk about clinical licensure. I'm not talking about no exam, none of that. That's not my thing. I talk about macro social work jobs. However, they were able for the first time in years be able to pass clinical licensure, and they attested to the fact that it was the community. It was the fact that they knew that every Sunday they were coming here and they were coming on the call with me to be coached through creating goals that week to achieve whatever career goal they wanted and creating actionable steps to achieve it. And they knew that every Sunday they were going to come in at the beginning of the call, report out how their action step went. What worked for them, what didn't work for them. Oh, this week I kind of ran out of time and I didn't do my hour a day. So next week what I'm going to do is I'm going to meal prep on Monday to make certain that I have my hour each day, so I'm not spending too much time doing other things and I could just spend my hour studying or whatever the thing is, job searching. They attested that sitting in community to the fact that they were able to pass this test for them that they had written off. They had just said, I'm just not going to do it. I can't pass it. And again, not one time are we studying about clinical licensure. But it was the power of the community. It was the power of you're sitting in a room with like-minded individuals who are working on the same like high-level career goals as you. Of course, everybody in the room ain't talking about clinical licensure. I'm just giving it to you as an example. But this is why my coaching clients get macro jobs within 30 days, within 45 days. It's because they're sitting in a place every week. Right? And we're not, and no offense if you're burnt out, but this is the truth. We are not a group of burnt out social workers where you're in there talking about, oh, employers are bad and this and this. I curate a community of people who are optimistic, right? And who are not burnt out. because I want to ensure that we have a community that is supportive and that can support you to work through your fear. But if you're sitting in a room with a bunch of people who's talking about the woe is me and this is horrible and blah, 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 things that we already know are true and cannot change, you're going to... I have a get to know you chat with a social worker in 5 minutes. So I say that to say that community is important to work through the fear. You need to be in a room with other people who are like-minded. Another thing that helps you work through the fear, and I'm gonna group this all together, is proven strategy. A large amount of the reason why you have fear with getting no's or fear of taking a chance on yourself for looking for a job or moving into bigger spaces, and don't let this go over your head. This ain't just about professional. It's also about personal. It's because you don't know what to expect, right? And us as humans, especially high achieving humans, we like to try to control the variables, even though we shouldn't. You shouldn't, right? You're supposed to just let life kind of happen. But because we're high achievers, you're welcome. All about thanks for sharing. You're welcome. Because we're so high achieving, we like to try to control everything because we're so intellectual. We like to over intellectualize everything. So in order to feed that part, you need proven strategy, right? So for me, when it came to applying to the doctoral program, the reason I was asking Dr. Price about how she chose her PhD program, and I'm asking other people out in the world that I don't know, is because I was trying to understand what strategies other people are using, right? What worked for them, what didn't work for them. So that way I can take a little bit of the uncertainty out of me engaging on this big endeavor to minimize my fear. Because for me, the more I kind of can know what to expect, the less fearful I am about the thing. Now, everything in life ain't going to give you a manual on what to expect. That's not how life works. However, there are some things that you can kind of get some forewarning about and get some, okay, avoid this, do this, say this, approach this. Right? So proven strategy helps minimize the fear, and it helps prepare you for the no's. Right? And so that's what I do inside of the Micro to Macro Career Accelerator. That's what I tell my coaching clients. I have taken all of the guesswork out for you. I've gone through all of the no's. I've hit all of the landmines. That's why I can tell my coaching clients, don't do that. Do this. Focus your energy here. This is what this process should look like. Also, so you're aware, this is what's going to happen next, right? So it helps minimize the fear. But when you don't have that forewarning of this is what you're going to encounter, this is what it's going to look like, this is how you prepare for it. Let me prepare you for it. Your fear will keep you from even wanting to embark on a thing. But I want to tell you that there are proven strategies to help you work through that. So I feel like I'm getting real excited. I didn't came on here and told y'all something that I was I wasn't prepared. But hey, God was tell the people, don't let fear, my point of my conversation is, don't let fear keep you stuck. And you better get used to getting no's. I was just telling my coaching client, you know how many no's I used to get back in the day when I was trying to get out of call centers and just get me a good administrative assistant job? Some people was telling me no left and right. That's how I got real good at getting jobs, because I had to find a creative way to break out of a call center job. You better get used to getting no's. Getting no's is a part of life. Am I saying that I mastered it? No, because every level in life requires, you're going to get different kind of no's. So for me, I'm on a different level. So right now I'm working through getting used to those types of no's. And I have coaches and people that supported me through it by giving me community, proven strategy. Marthea, this is how you deal with this. Marthea, practice this way to prepare you for this, blah, 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 blah. Right? Because I'm getting a whole nother level of no's now. So I say that to say this. Don't let your fear of getting a no hold you back. and work on getting used to getting no's. You're going to get a no. All right. So I'm going to leave it there because I literally got 1 minute. But the Micro to Macro Career Accelerator Cohort 16 enrollment closes on Saturday. If you ain't scheduled a get to know you chat with me to learn about the program, to learn about how I can help you with your landing a macro job, your dream macro job, schedule a free 15-minute get to know you chat with me. The link is in my bio. It's the third. Click the link in the bio. Visit macroandpay.com. It'll take you right there. It's the third link. If you will go to a page, you will go to my calendar page. You can read about what the Micro to Macro Career Accelerator is. I'm logging into Zoom for my next meeting. You can learn about what the Micro to Macro Career Accelerator is. You complete a pre-interest application, and then you have access to my calendar. I have appointments available tomorrow and on Saturday. Come talk to me. I have taken all of the guesswork out for you. I can help you minimize the no. However, you still will get no's, right? But I can help you prepare for it. I can help you avoid certain landmines. All right, I'm going to go because my person here. All right, y'all. Happy macro career planning. Bye.